What is up, Earthnoids and Spacenoids? I am just a simple new type. And in this episode, we're concluding Gundam Sentinel. Last time, Brave Cod was killed in action. Mayor Pinefield committed suicide, and EFF took control as the Battle of Air City came to an end. The fleeing Nudicide soldiers were saved by Admiral Tonning of the Axis fleet. This time, the Nudicides will invade Penta. Axis will slow down the Pegasus 3, and the final battle takes place on the border of Earth's atmosphere. So let's get into this. On the Axis ship, the Gauli, Cray, now acting as commander, is struggling to work with Admiral Tonning, as he can't seem to separate Axis from old Zeon remnants. He spent most of his career fighting. He is a Titan at heart after all. Their fleet would grow with Axis on their side, but this would mean fighting against Earth. He notices the Gaza C mobile suits. Axis and the Iona fleet head towards Side 1. Ryu Roots makes it back to the Pegasus 3. Shin thanks him for everything he's done out there. All Ryu could do is give a thumbs up. He starts to wonder what's up with this Gundam. Stoll Mannings tells him not to worry about it. He challenges Ryu to a sparring session. If Ryu wins, he demands that Manning tells him more about the Gundam. Mannings uses the high mobility type Nero. This is the Nero trainer. The MSA 007T Nero trainer type functions more like an aggressor unit. It is a high mobility variant of the original Nero and has shoulder binders. Because of this, its shoulder armor has been removed. Even though this is a competent fighting unit, it is still used for training purposes. Weapons include a beam saber and a beam rifle. The captain lets Mannings know that something is up with Alice, and to keep it quiet from Ryu. The Nudicide soldiers are split. Some are starting to fight and some want to leave. Cray tells the men that from this day forward, the Nudicides are no more. Every man must make their own choice. They are welcome to join Axis if they don't want to stay. Many men stand up, salute, and leave. 28 soldiers remain. The Nero and Gundam fight one another. Mannings calls Ryu's moves predictable. Ryu now has battle data of the Mark V. While the fight is happening, Alice thinks of the new data she was given, and she gets mad. She doesn't want to relive those memories. They're using paint rounds. Ryu is able to bombard Manning's Nero, leaving it streaked with yellow paint. Mannings knows that Alice is awakening. They can't put her back in the box. She also seems to be infatuated with her pilot. Ryu Roots won the battle. But Manning says, I ain't telling you shit about the Gundam. The Axis fleet makes it to L1. Cray and his remaining team joins the Bull Run of the Iona fleet. Their fleet only consists of the Bull Run and a cruiser called Aoba. They only have 5 mobile suits. Admiral Tonning contacts the crew. He offers them a gift. It is a mobile armor, but this thing is the size of a ship. This is the Zodiac? Zodiac. I don't know who attempted to translate this, but this should be the Zodiac, which is what I'm going to refer to it from here on. The AMA 100 Zodiac is a giant Zeon mobile armor gifted to the remaining Nudicides. The main body is a giant mega particle cannon, which is actually 2 particle cannons stacked together. This also has a quasi-Seikomu system that controls 4 wired beam claws. It has the ability to separate into 2 parts. Other weapons include 12 additional beam cannons, clustered in 4 groups of 3. A beam saber held by the beam claws, and Vulcan guns, which are useless on something this big. It also has an I-field generator. Zeon and Cray salute as they part ways with Axis. 20 mentions that they probably couldn't even afford to spare the cruiser they gave them, let alone the mobile armor, as they are stretched too thin, due to the pacification campaign currently going on. This is what we refer to on this channel as the Zeon Crusades. Haman sent knights from noble families to spread the word of Zeonism to every colony in order to bolster support. Cray thinks, what the hell are they supposed to do with this minuscule fleet? He looks into the archives to see if he can find something. He comes across Penta because of the incident on the moon. Penta is most likely not guarded. He tells Ayano and the rest of the crew their goal is to seize control of Penta. They would then carry out a bombing run on both Dakar and Lhasa. The Federation is currently in the process of moving. Better bomb both just to be safe. They might even be able to crash their mobile armor into Earth. Cray and Fastside were chosen to be the pilots of the mobile armor. They changed the name of the shuttle they were gifted to the Brave. Their assault begins. April 2nd, UC 0088. Pegasus was heading towards L1 when they were harassed by Axis. Axis and EFF can't fight one another, but they can harass them and slow them down. Axis is doing the equivalent of getting in your personal space and saying, I'm not touching you, I'm not touching you. Ryu joined the military to get some vocational training and ended up being a mobile suit pilot caught in the middle of a war. Great gig to fail yourself into though. Tex West is in the simulator. The pilots get Liberty steak, which is actually real beef. Wow, They make their way towards Penta, where they see the Enterprise-class shuttles waiting. The Enterprise-class shuttle is just a standard shuttle that transports people from space to Penta. This is most likely named after the real-life OV-101 Enterprise space shuttle. Zekus and the Zodiac move in on the Penta. The mobile armor preps its megaparticle cannons. He sends a message saying they are the new Decides and to lay down arms. They fire the megaparticle cannon. It's horrifying. So much so that the warning shot got most to surrender. Krei docks the Zodiac on the Penta. The cruiser that they renamed the Brave is Musai. The new Decides are impressed and are getting a kick out of the Xeon ship. Their next step is Earth. The Pegasus 3 lost the FATS team, and the Zeta Pluses are heavily damaged. The S Gundam has a core block system via the G core. Because they are stretched so thin, they are turning the S Gundam into 3 fighters. Crypt uses the G Attacker. The G Attacker is the torso of the S Gundam designed for high speed. Weapons include 2 12-megawatt beam cannons and 4 60mm Vulcan guns. West pilots the G Bomber. The G-Bomber consists of the boots of S Gundam. This has 4 hardpoints for carrying missiles. Weapons include 2 beam cannons and a beam smart gun. Ryu is piloting the G-Core. They launch and are met with Gaza's Seas. The 3 fighters break the Gaza's formation. Axis fires near them. Their attacks are getting closer and closer to starting a war. I'm not touching you. This happens for 6 hours. The Pegasus 3 mobile suits create a perimeter, but they are reaching their breaking point. Rear Root says, "Let's do this," and shoots down a Gaza Sea. They retreat for now to prevent a possible war. April 3rd, Axis was successful at slowing Task Force Alpha down. They wonder what the new Decides want with Penta. 2 Zeta Pluses and the S Gundam are operational, but the Neros are still down. Gelgoog surround Krei and tear apart his gym. He wakes up from his demons of the 1-year war. It is now April 4th. They are planning on dropping the Zodiac on Dakar. Krei does some last-minute checks. It contains stolen missiles from the Penta. It will be used to detonate the mobile armor on impact. You don't want a giant penis sticking out of the ground, right, Haman? The Musai ship, the Brave, tows the Zodiac. Pegasus 3 has a visual of Penta. They are only to conduct recon as ordered by EFF High Command. They watch, noting they are planning a descent on Earth. He asks if he can engage. Heathrow says to focus the firepower on the shuttles. Mannings is ready to launch immediately. Heathrow gives them 30 minutes. Sigmund and Chung Young are back in the battle with their Zeta Pluses. Mannings tells the pilot that this is where they end this. Everyone is pumped up in the hangar. The Zeta Pluses, G-Fighter, Bomber, and Core all launch. Penta spots the Pegasus 3. They have to hurry up and launch. The Zodiac launches along with the shuttles. The Bull Run and Aoba Run support. Offshore heads into the security office on the Penta and finds himself a rubber bullet gun used for riot control. Heathrow gets a look at the enormous mobile armor. They move into evasive maneuvers. You know it's serious when they move from the bridge to the sub-bridge. The Pegasus 3 is attacked by the mobile armor's hyper mega cannon. Some pilots wonder if they should fall back, but they continue forward. The mobile armor did a good chunk of damage. Heathrow learns that the attack took out the Nero squad. Mannings wants to go out in their one remaining Nero. They can't take another hit like that. Mannings launches. Krei says piloting this mobile armor is like steering a meteor. Fastside tells Krei enemies are approaching. It's the high mobility trainer. Manning pushes the Nero to its limits. He fires on the mobile armor. It does no damage. He wonders if Tosh Krei is the pilot. Task Force Alpha sees a light code emanate from the Bull Run. The Iano fleet seems to be surrendering. They all think it's a trap. The Zeta Pluses secure the Penta, while Ryu and the G-Parts head towards the Bull Run. Krei wants to shorten the cooldown on the megaparticle cannon. They route all power. They could do that? Like in Star Trek? Divert all power, damn it! Krei realizes that Mannings is in the Nero. He tells Farside to stand down, but he fires anyways. Mannings is vaporized. Ryu can't believe that Mannings is dead. He wanted another sparring session and to know more about the Gundam. He calls him his mentor. He probably should have said that while he was still alive. Many have once looked at Ayano as a teacher. The POW says the greater the sacrifice, the bigger the message. Wes gets mad and punches the Admiral. He says that his ideals is an insult to his generation. They won't blindly follow the past. He says his son died because of his dumb logic. Damn son, Wes just dropped a truth colony. Krei takes the mobile suit back to Penta. He is saddened by the death of Mannings. Once they regroup, they abandon Penta. The mobile armor and the shuttles head towards Earth. Meanwhile, offshore stole a Zeku Zwei, using those rubber bullets. He was supposed to stay behind. They plan on heading to Dakar and seizing the assembly, but even they haven't thought this through. The new Decides run into the Zeta Pluses. Chung Young shoots down one of the Zeku Zwais. They are 30 minutes out to re-entry. A Zeku Ainz goes down. Since they have Wave Riders, the Zeta Pluses aren't concerned of re-entry. Ryu and the G-Parts come to help, but they aren't capable of re-entry. Chung Young switches to mobile suit mode. The Zekus use the boot, as they call it, which is similar to a Sternfaust, or those rockets used to take down panzer tanks during World War II. Ryu's G-Core is out of missiles. Alice suggests S-Gundam combined, or head back for resupply. He doesn't like these solutions. Withdrawal is not an option. The G-Attacker and G-Bomber were suggested to combine as well. Chung Young tries to buy them time while they combine. He is able to take out one of the shuttles. The Zodiac joins the battle as the three begin the docking process. The mobile suit fires its megaparticle cannons at the S-Gundam. It's time for Chung Young to be a hero. He blocks the attack and is vaporized in the process. The S-Gundam combines. The Zodiac splits into two, the Zune 1 and Zune 2 as they are called. They descend towards the North Pole. Ryu notices that there are two of them now. He takes control of the Gundam. Shin mans the guns while Tex West handles navigation. Zune 2 goes in to attack S-Gundam. He fires and hits the S-Gundam's side. Since 3 people can't handle this, Alice decides to take control. Zune 1 moves in while Zune 2 fires on S-Gundam. However, the Mega Beam Cannon just so happens to be right next to the generator. As the Mega Cannon overheats, it ignites the generator and destroys Zune 2. You think Admiral Twanning knew of this design flaw when they gave it to the new Decides? Ryu is no longer in control of S-Gundam. It's moving on its own again. West says, wait, what do you mean again? Mannings was the only one that seemed to know the truth of the S-Gundam. Josh gets into the Zeku Zwei. It is a suicide mission, but he doesn't care. Sigmund Shade aims at one of the shuttles and fires. Another one goes down. Only one remains. This is Sigmund's first re-entry. He switches to Wave Rider mode and breaks through the atmosphere. He seems like he's having way too much fun. Josh attacks S-Gundam. Ryu tries to ignore it, but he doesn't have control anyways. Offshore says, how dare you ignore me? He rushes the Gundam again. Alice asks why Offshore keeps attacking. He sees him as acting with emotion. The S-Gundam swats away Offshore and focuses on Zune 1. The Zune unleashes the wire-guided beam claws. The two fight, but Offshore keeps getting involved. Even Cray tells him to stand down. Cray tells him this was never his battle. He was just weak enough to follow their orders. Offshore even had a moment earlier where he acknowledged the old generation sucked. I guess he forgot? Cray gets a hit on S-Gundam. The remaining shuttle informs Cray that EFF knows of their bombing run. The Zune 1 is off course. Cray gets it back on course and ejects. He makes it back to the final shuttle. The G-Parts are going to burn alive if they continue on. Josh rushes in and stabs the S-Gundam in the shoulder. Alice gets Offshore in a headlock as they enter into Earth's atmosphere. Alice calls Offshore a sad little bitch. S-Gundam aims its beam smart gun at the Zune 1, igniting the missiles, taking down the final shuttle, killing Cray. Alice detaches the G-Core, ejecting the pilots. Alice only functions when all 3 parts are connected. She says thanks for the memories. They of course can't hear her. The Gundam A and B parts remerge, while the G-Core gets the pilots out of there. Offshore's Zeku Zwei begins burning up. He realizes this is all kind of for nothing. He thinks of his mother, Cray, and Cod as he burns up on re-entry. Good job of sucking at being a character, Offshore. Heathrow learns that the S-Gundam is destroyed, but the pilots have been saved. Heathrow is the only one that now knows of the truth of Alice. You're not gonna tell us, are you? Ryu Roots looks out to Earth. Crypt and West are still alive. They are somewhere around the Arctic Ocean. They run into a Garuda class and get access to land. The Zeta Plus was picked up by the Garuda as well. Ryu hopes that Mannings is watching over him. April 5th, UC 0088. Task Force Alpha's mission is complete. And that will conclude Gundam Sentinel. In the end, the robot that could only fight became more human than some of the pilots. There were undertones of Alice being in love with Ryu, but it was kind of a loose thread and didn't play too much into the story, except for the final sacrifice, I suppose. Same with all the loose allegories of Alice in Wonderland. Step up your allegory game. What I loved about this novel is the dichotomy between the old and the new generation. The old ways led many of the youth towards their death. Some acknowledged this, but pride be damned. This light novel was very tactical and painted a picture of every move that was being made, which is rare for even some manga writers. And those have pictures. It sucks that Alice remains a mystery by design, but it's probably best to not explain how the little child got into the Gundam. But that will do it for now, new types. Do you think the new Decides fight was in vain? Let me know. Peace.